What is it?
You should tell the students about all the different connectors used in the video industry.
You're right. Oh my goodness, what are all these cables and things like that? Mike here with the next episode of Mike's Epic Podcast, and we're going to talk about audio and video connectors. What are you going to run into? What are you going to need to know? Part of being a video professional is knowing some of the technical aspects. What plugs into what, and what's the different type of connector to use. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. Little back history here. I've got a DVD player, and on the back are lots of different types of inputs. And so this is a good example of some legacy connectors that you're going to see. Let's talk about this. This is a composite connector right here. This is a typical line out or line in that you'll find in the back of a VHS or a audio and video component of some kind. And so the yellow is an RCA jack for video, and the red and the white are your left and right audio inputs. These are RCA connectors, and they just push straight in. There's two wires, one for the center and one for the silver part on the outside here, and these just push straight in. That's an RCA connector. Another connector that you're not going to see very often here is S-Video, which is a slightly better quality than the yellow RCA jack, but still standard def. And it kind of has a particular up and down way that that's going to plug into that port, but still analog. Another connector you don't see very often, and that's a component, and it's actually taking the video signal of the colors, red, green, blue, and connect into those. You might see this in a studio situation, but that's called a component connector, where it's all the different colors, red, green, blue, in the component. Again, using an RCA jack connector. So that's some audio and video connectors. You might also see on a television, I guess there's not one on this, is going to be a coax cable. This might connect to an antenna situation. Even a new antenna cable might have this. Coax meaning it's two connectors, and that might be a component you're going to see in a TV studio. Another connector that you're going to run into, look this way. Another connector you might run into in the studio situation is called BNC. And this is a real general type of component connector, especially used in studios. I rolled in one of our studio cameras, and it has a BNC connector here. And this is a twist lock connector. So there's a housing on the outside here that twists that connector into place. It's two wires. There's a center and a outside, but these will connect from this little video monitor into our studio camera. That's an RCA jack, and this is the BNC connector, but it's actually an adapter that's a typical component oftentimes in studios. Now you can get all kinds of little gizmos that connect and change and move and route signals here and there, and that's why it's popular for studios. That's a BNC connector. Another video connector that we use a lot is HDMI. Now HDMI is an HD connector, started with a consumer television, but now we're using an HDMI signal from our studio camera to the studio switcher. Even our HMC 150 camera has an HDMI connector in the back here that can be run off to a separate monitor or recording signal. Here's a few audio connectors you're going to run into. What I have here is a device that's pretty special in that it takes analog signal and converts it to digital. So the output on this is USB, and this is going to be connected to the computer. But all kinds of different various audio style inputs. Again, oftentimes an audio connector is going to be with the left and right RCA jack into here, or it can be a 1/4-inch phone jack that goes into this input. That might be the type of connector you see on electric guitars. It's mono, it's one connection. But there's a similar 1/4-inch phone jack that is also stereo. So you can see that there's two lines here. This represents that it's going to have a left and right stereo signal. One line on here represents that this is a mono connector. Again, this is a 1/4-inch phone jack. Similar to that is you might say call it an 1/8-inch phone jack, or a headphone jack, or a 3.5 millimeter jack. This one actually is the adapter for this headphones. So this plugs in, and so if you have an old style stereo equipment that takes a 1/4-inch jack, this becomes an adapter from our regular headphone jack. Again, two lines represents that that's stereo. And last is the XLR connector. There's 3 prongs. This is a high quality professional audio connection that usually goes to our handheld microphones. This has a male and female component that connects together. This is also the style of audio connector on our cameras. So that's a lot of the video and audio connectors that you're going to need to be familiar with and know the terms and know their situations.